Hi, my name's Bill Sanders, and this is Watch Art Side, the art and science of watch collection. Today, what we're going to be talking about is a watch I showed a few times, and it's a very interesting watch because it has an interesting history. Uh, it's a watch of not only French royalty, but of European royalty altogether. And the name of the watch, and I've got some helpers over here to help pronounce it, is called El Leroy. This is the El Leroy. It's the Mécanique Istraplat Grand Osimar. And this watch is a I guess the best way to understand it in a larger context is that it's really a jewelry watch. Not the same thing as a fashion watch, but as a jewelry watch. In 2001, it was one of the finalists in the jewelry category in the Grand Prix d'Horlogerie de Genève. And in fact, one of the other El Leroy watches in 2001 actually won for the men's watch. So it's not a watch company that is unknown, and not, certainly one that's not unheralded, but it's one that during the process of the whole upheaval that came about in the 70s and I suppose all the way up to the early 80s, where the quartz watches took over. And so it's gone through a number of different ownerships, and it is currently owned by the Festina Group, which is a Spanish group that now owns it, but they're still manufactured in Switzerland, even though it's a French watch. The history of these is really amazing. Before I forget, let me mention something. There's a relatively, I think it's almost brand new, it's a new book that came out that's called Marie Antoinette's Watch by John Biggs. And to tell you the truth, when I first got it, I got it at Amazon. I didn't think it was going to be very good. I don't know why. Biggs writes a blog, and you really don't have great expectations from blog writers when it comes to book writers. This book is really good. I mean, seriously good. And about the history of French watchmaking, the emphasis is on Breguet, but that's okay. It shows the role of the French. In an upcoming video, what I want to do is cover how watchmaking became to be identified with the Swiss. But for today, we're going to look at some really incredible watches that come from France. Well, we're going to look at one anyway, at the El Leroy. Okay, some of the characteristics of it. It has what is called on the face. It's called guilloche, and guilloche is looks like a little checkerboard pattern, and it's cut out by hand. And they take the material and they'll cut it different ways, leaves little grooves, and it's a really neat process. And so you can see it right on the face of it. It also has blued dials or hands, and the blued dials, we're used to thinking of blued screws. Well, they did the same thing with the dial. The back of the watch is solid gold. That's about all I can say about it. The price of gold has just gone crazy upwards, and you don't find a lot of watches anymore that are made with this much gold. This is sort of an old time kind of watch, and it's the kind of watch that you definitely wear in formal occasions. However, I like it so much, and you can see it a great deal. I mean, it's a good, clean, just classy looking watch. I'm going to get some more bands, and so I can wear it all the time. And then for fancy occasions, I'll bring out the original Leroy bands. Okay, let's take a look at the inside of the watch. And um, what we see, the movement inside, and this is true with a lot of jewelry watches. Some of the winners, as a matter of fact, of the Grand Prix jewelry category actually had quartz movements in them. And the movement inside of this is originally a Pazzi 7001. Now, the Pazzi 7001 is considered to be a very thin movement, and certainly it was at the time when it was first developed. And the Pazzi 7001 was later bought by ETA, and they had it come out as some kind of special category, and really didn't change anything. So it's even though I think they call it the Specialise Mécanique, it's still basically the Pazzi 7001 and unchanged by ETA, and they quit making them back. I think they quit making this particular movement back in 2004. Okay, so what about this watch, and what about French watches? The French watches are most interesting because of the history, and there was a time when a lot of the best French watchmakers moved to Switzerland, and we'll see why in another video. But the ones that stayed went through some very interesting times. Those included Breguet, of course, and this is in that book I mentioned, Marie Antoinette's watch. But one of the other watchmakers was a guy named Leroy. And he made watches during the same period. And one of the most interesting watches he made was a snuff box shaped watch that Marie Antoinette, gave to her lover. And there were some interesting letters. There was a lot of comment, well, did she really do it or not? Well, there were some letters that were redacted. They had black stuff all over it, and they had to use x-rays, and they found out, yes, indeed, this was quite so. Well, anyway, she gave her lover, who was the Felsen, I think his name. He was the Swedish ambassador. This is the kind of watch that is perfect for formal occasions, and this is, to me, is the unfortunate thing about this kind of watch. Are similar kinds that I have, formal watches, my Patek Philippe, my 1972 Vacheron Constantin. These are all formal watches too. You don't have a lot of formal occasions. Recently, I had a little video on occasions where people do get dressed up, and this was a luxury cruise. But you can wear these things all the time. I mean, you're not going to wear them for rugby matches and things like that, but so what I would do is get a rough and tumble kind of band form. Now, these are available online in different places, Chrono 24 and so forth, and you can find them still. They're also available brand new. And the box they come in is really amazing. They come in this giant box, and they have this. They even include a little travel case for the watch, so it's really really a show they put on. So you can find some new ones, and I think what happened, excuse me, these were. Some of the distributor had some left over, and so this enterprising entrepreneur is going out and making them available as well. I can't say new, so they have to say unused conditions. But essentially, what they are is that you can get them new, but you also can find them, and you can find a lot of other types of Leroy watches in different places, and including the what you may call the home store. They changed the name from Leroy to Leroy in 2015. So you can find it, and there are a lot of watches, really good and really expensive watches. But you can get these watches between in great condition and even brand new that they're allowed to say they're brand new for between I would say $5,000 and $10,000. And so it's something it's an interesting kind of thing, and they have very interesting histories. Again, the French and their watchmaking is unique. The Since they started off making them for royals, they were the people who could afford them. After the French Revolution, in the French Revolution, they were chopping off heads of anybody during a period called the Terrors, of anybody associated with the royalty. And so what Leroy did, he sold the company to some assistant for $1 or a franc or whatever it had until things simmered down, and then they came back and they started making watches again. Right around the turn of the 19th to the 20th century, Leroy made the most complicated watch that existed until Philippe came up with another one. I forgot, in the 50s or 60s, some time period like that. The big thing about these was the chronometer aspect of them, and by that I mean these were used in ships' navigations and that type of operation. And so instead of being verified by the COSC, they had a French one in Besançon where the observatory there did the verification or validation, I guess. So they have a lot of different models. The major feature about this is it is jewelry. Some of the other ones have manufactured Leroy manufactured movement, but for the most part, to me, these are great, I guess what you might call pieces of jewelry for dress watches. They're not fashion watches. There's a difference. A fashion watch is more what's here and now. These have this kind of watch, and other jewelry watches have sort of an eternal. They're not faddish. Okay, so that's the story behind the Leroy. They have their major features, a lot of gold. This is 42 millimeters, so you get a pretty big hunk of watch in this, and it's something that I enjoy a great deal, and something that you might want to look into. Take a look. This is Bill Sanders. Click on the subscribe button, and until next time.